Building a brand new home can be one of the most exciting things you can ever do in your life. Whether it's your first investment property, whether it's the 10th home that you've built, I don't feel like it would ever get old creating something from nothing, where you're effectively finding an incredible piece of land, either for your own home or an investment, and effectively building it out of the ground, not with your own hands unless you're handy, and creating what it is that you envisioned. And that is why I love the process of building, and that's why I think building in southeast Queensland provides so many options for both homeowners looking at future long-term returns, as well as investors looking at medium to longer term returns. So in today's video, we're going to talk about the 7 tips when building a brand new home up here. We're going to talk strategy, market, we're going to talk about land and finding the right piece, as well as finding the right builder as well, how to negotiate a fixed price with those guys, and what sort of time frames you can expect, as well as the process from start to finish. So I'm Ben from Pumped On Property, this is Simon. We've helped so many people up here build over $300 million worth of property now between the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast in the last 4 years, and these are the experiences that we've had that we wanted to share with you so that your process of building becomes that much simpler. So let's talk strategy, which I know isn't building, but I think is the foundation to actually deciding what you go and do. So how does someone who doesn't have a strategy begin to think about their strategy and break that down into a series of steps for their life?
It's really crucial and super important to look at your current situation and where you're at right now, then also looking into the future and thinking about where do I actually want to be in 10, 15, 20 years time, because the decisions that you make today are ultimately going to affect your long-term situation. So when you're starting to think about these things, you really need to figure out, am I building a house for myself? Am I building an investment property? What is my budget? And different things like that, to make sure that you start putting the different pieces in place to make sure that you don't make any mistakes.
For sure. So obviously we're talking about 2 separate things here. One is building your own home and one is an investment. But regardless of where you are, this video is going to be filled with info on that stuff. If you are building an investment, is it a single income home, or is it going to be dual income to get that extra cash flow? And from a big picture strategy perspective as well, am I looking to build in a greenfield estate, which I've done personally before, Stockland's estates on the Sunshine Coast, or am I looking at an infill block, which is effectively finding either that knockdown site or potentially that one piece of land in a really, really high quality area and building on that, which I've also done myself. So once you've got your strategy in place in terms of why you're doing it and what your budget is, the second thing to think about is the markets. Now, there are so many different options in southeast Queensland right now to build. Some of them are extremely budget and affordable. Some of them are ridiculously expensive. You can basically spend whatever you want. Now, let's sort of break southeast Queensland into some different areas and talk about that, and then from that I think I'll talk more specifically about local areas.
So we kind of segment southeast Queensland into a few different areas, and the first area is up here on the Sunshine Coast. Now there's so much development occurring up here at the moment. You've got a massive development going down in South Caloundra called Aura. There's the Palmview Estate, there's the Bly project that's just about to start construction. So there's so many different opportunities up here for brand new properties, and you can actually legally construct the dual income properties up here, which can be a good option. Secondly, there's the Brisbane market, which obviously you have the Brisbane CBD, you've got the north, you've got the south, you've got the west. Down in the south and out in the west, there's a lot of greenfield estates that are opening up at the moment. And there's lots of people talking about those areas. And obviously there's the Gold Coast down on the border of New South Wales and Queensland.
So between these markets, there are the big estates that Simon was talking about, but then there's also very niche, very, very premium estates. Like on the Sunshine Coast, for example, you've got Bocarina Beach, which is the first beachside location that's opened up on the coast for a long time. You've got some incredible boutique stuff up in Peregian, and then you've got a really, really big estate coming on from Sekisui, one of the Japanese builders and developers in Coolum. So, whether you're looking for that more affordable product or you're looking for that really, really nice product, there are options there. And then as we come back towards Brisbane, as Simon said, there's some huge greenfield estates on the northern side, the western side, and the southern side of Brisbane, but within that there's also really niche estates as well. And an example of this is a developer that we know brought us a small little boutique estate of 6 properties. Simon's going to buy one of the pieces of land in there, and a couple of our other clients will be lucky enough as well. And that's 25 k's from the city in a suburb with an average household income of $2,500 a week, which is very high for Brisbane. 93% owner occupiers in the suburb, like absolute quality stuff for an investment style product. Obviously in Brisbane there's so many incredible infill sites as well, close to the CBD as well as on the beaches, where you can really capitalise on that long-term potential for growth. And then as we move towards the Goldie, a lot of the big greenfield estates are sort of between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, and then there's all of the beautiful infill stuff on the beaches as well, some really nice boutique sort of bigger estates just 10 k's back from the beach. So there's so many different options for you regardless of where you're starting. And I think that leads me into the next point, which is land. Do I go infill, which is a little bit more expensive? Do I go boutique and premium, or do I go that investor level product? And that really comes back to your strategy. Land size typically on the southeast Queensland market ranges from somewhere between 200 square meters to 600 square meters, and then in some estates you can find stuff a bit bigger than that. I think obviously the bigger the piece of land that you can afford, the better, but that isn't necessarily always true, because there's still great value on the beaches and in Brisbane on those 400 square meter blocks that have been cut up as well. Because I've built I think 5 or 6 homes for myself now with my wife, we're sitting in one of those homes now, which is absolutely amazing on the sunny coast, but we built it with a southeast orientation, which I didn't really think about at the time until I moved in. So orientation is important. You really want something facing east if possible, or north facing in terms of the backyard where the living is. Worst case scenario, western facing backyard is still fine, but just be aware of those things as you go through finding your piece of land. And then position in the street, position in the suburb, position in the estate is equally important. You don't want to be on main roads. You want to be in quiet pockets, premium pockets, where there's an advantage long term for the selection of the site that you chose.
Exactly, I think that's a really important one, targeting the higher quality pockets of a new suburb or an existing suburb, targeting those owner occupiers that potentially in the future they might pay an emotional price for that property because they want to raise their children in a nice, beautiful, quiet street.
100%, and you're always thinking about, as Simon said, the owner occupier, or that quality investment grade stuff, as opposed to the cheap bottom end of town, which is probably why at the moment we're not looking too much in Western Brisbane, Northern Gold Coast, very North Brisbane or South Brisbane at the moment. I'm much more, if you can afford it, a quality area type person, because we don't all have money coming in buckets, you know what I mean, and we only get to make a few decisions over a lifetime with this sort of stuff, so you want to make sure that decision supports your short and your long-term goals. Now in terms of building the product up here, price is very much dependent on the size of the product and the quality of the product you're building, as well as the market that you're building in and the builder that you're using and their reputation and brand. We've helped clients build with 11 different builders now in the last 4 years in southeast Queensland, and we've narrowed it down to 2, which provide 3 things that are so important to me and anyone building. One is price certainty and a fixed price at an amazing price. They create wholesale rates for our clients because we introduce them to 5 or 10 people a year, and those rates end up saving our clients sometimes 20 on a single story home, up to $50,000 on a double story home. A bloke reached out to me from WA actually, who owned a piece of land on the sunny coast in the last 2 weeks. Trent, good to see you, mate. And he'd owned this piece of land for a couple of years. He hadn't built yet. He sent me through the design, which was a 300 square meter double story home. The builder had priced it for $480K. In one call, I saved him $80,000 on that. It was a very much architectural design, very complicated, very specific, but he's absolutely through the moon with that, and it is very simple to save money if you know the right people. So price and fixed price is very important. Quality is absolutely necessary. You want somebody that's building a product that's going to last, that is also to the highest possible standard at the right price. And then you also want, the third thing is certainty around timeframes and delivery. So what I love about these 2 out of the 11 guys that we've trialled up here is that they both build the product in somewhere between 12 and 16 weeks, which means you're not forking out huge amounts of cash, because I just hear countless people getting stitched up with builds that have taken 6 months, 12 months for absolutely no reason.
One thing that's really important when building your brand new home is to actually get that fixed price, which you mentioned before. Now, there's lots of property marketers and developers out there that can charge an extreme premium to build these products. So you need to make sure that you're going out there, doing your due diligence, understanding how much the land is really worth, how much the build is really worth, and making sure that you go back with a good negotiation to actually get that price fixed.
I think that's such a good and important point, because there's 2 ways that most people are getting completely ripped off in southeast Queensland right now. One is 80% of the brand new properties being sold to people, whether they're in Queensland or around Australia, are sold through these property marketers that get somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000 of undisclosed commissions from the builder and the developer. And they will make this beautiful glossy brochure. They're going to tell you how the estate is just absolute gold, and it's going to get you great cash flow, and it's going to get you great depreciation and amazing capital growth, and they're just filled with fucking shit. Like, just be so careful of these people in the industry. Unfortunately, 80% of the stock looks like that, and the way that you can pick it is if they're not charging you a fee for the service, if the stuff is that they're presenting to you is always brand new, the stuff they're presenting to you is in the middle of nowhere, like 30, 40, 50 k's from the city or the beaches, if it is being sold to you through an accountant, a financial advisor, through a mortgage broker, through a solicitor, or just through an investment firm that specialises in brand new product only, you've just got to be really aware of that, because they're the people that are generally stitching people up into deals, and obviously they've got a huge financial incentive to move you into that product. But being 50 k's from the city doesn't equal long-term capital growth. In fact, you've probably got an oversupply of land out there, and in the next crisis you'll feel that. You know, vacancy rates generally out in those estates are much higher, so you want quality, and you know, they're always overpricing it too, because they've got to make their 30 or 50 grand fee. I've heard some people pay up to literally $150,000 more in places like Toowoomba and Ipswich for the product than it was actually worth to create. So be aware of that. Property market is number 1. And number 2 is, unfortunately, the whole Australian building industry is filled with this model where the base price looks really, really cheap, and then as soon as they've got you hooked in, they up the price, and that is absolutely deadly. You know, they might suck you in with this beautiful 4-bedroom design, 200, 300 square metre home for under 200k. As soon as you're locked in, it didn't include plus, and you end up paying, in some instances, 10 up to 50% more for the property, because once they know they've got you, then they start upselling. And it makes me physically ill that that is the state of play up here, which is why we've trialled 11 different builders and really found 2 in southeast Queensland that just consistently deliver on quality, price and timeframes, which is so important. So let's talk timeframes for an average build now. Obviously you're going to start one shortly yourself, which is so exciting. I'm actually literally put a slab down on one today myself on one of the beachside suburbs in Brisbane as well. Yeah, so it really depends on the land that you're purchasing. If you're going in an infield area, generally you can get going pretty quickly, but if you're looking at an estate, sometimes it takes quite a while for that land to register. Now the one that I'm thinking of focusing on, the land doesn't even register until next April, so it's going to take a little while until I can even start the construction. Ben actually had a piece of land down here on the beach on the Sunshine Coast as well. How long ago did you purchase that? Oh, that would have been over a year ago now, and they've just delayed it by almost another year. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it takes longer than you expect to even get to the site. Yeah, so then once you get to the site, obviously it's pretty decent depending on the builder that you go with. We like the builders that we work because they go from about 12 to 16 weeks from I guess preparing the site till handing over the keys. Yeah, and I think, you know, that's about a normal period of time. Anything above that is unnecessary. It's just poor project management, in my opinion. Because before starting this business, where we have helped buy and build over 300 million bucks worth of property up here. I was actually working for one of the largest builders in Queensland as well as Australia, and you know, just the experience of working with all of those different guys, I really sort of cut my teeth around what building looks like. Now, as Simon said, 12 to 16 weeks is your normal. It takes a little while before that to get to site with your council approval, but you can probably look at a process of start to finish somewhere between 4 and 6 months with your average builder up here. Again, it depends on the product. If it's very technical, very architectural or double story, it can take a little bit longer, but with the right builder, those things shouldn't matter. It's just good project management.
So let's talk a little bit about the process. So you've secured your piece of land, you've got your council approval, you understand your strategy, you know the design that you want to be focusing on. Now, how does it actually work from employing one of those builders?
Yeah, so you've found your builder, you've got your fixed price in place like Simon said, you've got everything agreed to. You know, the way that it works is with a construction loan, so you put down a 10 or a 20% cash deposit. Generally the builder takes that up front and then the bank will pay the rest of the deposits. Now what's cool about building is, you know, let's say you're building a $200,000 to $300,000 property or home for yourself or investment, or it's your first home, you only put down your small deposit and then the builder will send you somewhere between 6 and 7, depending on whether it's a HIA or an MBA contract, different invoices as it goes through the process. So it's not like you have to fork out all of that money up front and pay interest on that during the whole period. You just drip feed dollars through based on where the project's at. So the first one is your deposit, then your slab, then your frame, your roof, your fit out stage where they, you know, the electricians, the plumbers go through, they put in, you know, doors, they put in all of that sort of stuff, windows, and then it slows right down. Like, it feels like it goes really, really quickly at the start.
Yeah, I've noticed this with like all of the builds that we work with. You know, it just seems though it's a slab and then all of a sudden you've got a fully bricked home, but then it's just like the brakes get hit. But it's not for any particular reason, but it just takes a little bit longer to get those intricacies of the property done, like your cabinetry, like your tiling, like your bathrooms, your kitchens,
for
things
sure,
like this.
You know, and so it's all very exciting at the front end and then it slows right down towards the back end, but we're still only talking 12 to 16 weeks. If you're on the ground, it's exciting to get your builder to take you through every now and then. If you're working with someone like us, we'd obviously provide you with very, very regular updates on photos in terms of what's going on. But you know, building is just so much fun. It is absolutely one of my passions in life. I've built my last couple of homes. I'm renovating my home at the moment. My wife's an interior designer, and I think it can also be a really good way in southeast Queensland if you choose the right suburb, buy the land at the right price, and obviously get your build for a discount rather than overpaying for it like 90% of people do. You can sometimes make really, really nice equity from a build because not everybody is in a financial position to go and create something from nothing. And you know, in a lot of instances, you can create some short-term equity with what you do, whether it's your own home or whether it's an investment property or your first property too. So we hope you've enjoyed this video and got some value out of it. I just get so excited talking about builds. I'm so excited that you're thinking about building one. I think if we look at southeast Queensland over the next 10, 15, 20 years, it looks so exciting. I prepared an email that I'm sending to some people through our website later next week, and it was just 15 or 16 projects in southeast Queensland right now, and when I added them together, we're talking about $43 billion worth of projects in the pipeline, infrastructure-wise, development-wise, over the next 10 to 20 years that are already guaranteed, that have already been ticked off by the state government, national government and local councils. And that is why so many people are moving here at the moment, why incomes are growing up here so rapidly at the moment, why more jobs were created in Queensland last year than anywhere else. So if you are looking to buy a piece of land and would like some help with that, please jump over to www.pumpedonproperty.com and book a strategy session with either myself or Simon. We'll talk about where you are and where you're looking to be. We'll fully educate you on the market and talk about your different options based on your budget. We can help you find the right piece of land and build a home for your family. If it's your first investment property and looking to take advantage of that free stamp duty plus massive building boost, we can help you find the right land, the right builder, project manage that for you. if you're looking to buy an investment property, either a single income or a dual income, we can also help you with that. And that's our passion, that's what we absolutely love to do, and we'd love to support you and hold your hand through that process to take away all that fear that I suppose I felt first time round, and that, you know, first time build for you, you'll probably start feeling as well.
It's an exciting time to be up here in the market, and it's going to be really fun to actually just have a piece of dirt and then create something for a couple of families to live in over the next 20 years. I think that's like the beautiful thing about building a house as well.
Why don't you tell people about your project, and I'll tell them about a couple of the ones that I've done as well, because I think it's really nice to realise that you're not on your own. Yes, it's a bit scary, yes, it's a bit of new information, but you know, Simon and I are doing it, you can definitely do it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so mine's going to be an investment property. I'm going to build a brand new dual income. So because I understood it was going to be an investment, when generating my strategy, I really wanted to focus on a high quality infill suburb. I wanted this boutique development where there's not going to be too many other properties opening up at the exact same time, so there's not going to be vacancy issues. I wanted to be in an area where the demographics in that suburb and the people that are living there, young families, it's going to give me hopefully long-term growth, and it gives, because it's not settling until next April, it gives me a bit of time, because it's my first investment, to continue educating myself, get my funds together and make sure that everything's prepared, so that as soon as April swings around, I'm ready to break soil and construct that dwelling. So my plan is to build a brand new house, which will be a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and under the same roof line but completely separate, another 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. So the cash flow that I'm going to be receiving from this is going to be around that 6.5-7% from the get-go, which just makes a lot of sense, and it's a really good project where ideally I can make some short-term equity to hopefully either leverage off into the future, into my next property, or just have that equity there.
Yeah, and what I love about your suburb is it's close to the city. It's an area where the average income's $2,500 a week, 7% renters in the area, 93% owner-occupiers, beautiful new university going in close to the area, great transport options, and just, you know, a nice area that you want to be a part of. So it is ticking the cash flow goal for Simon. It's a nice big piece of land. He's going to make equity on the build because of our relationship with the builder and the developer. It's a small estate and a suburb where this just isn't happening. It's an infill thing, and he's obviously taking advantage of the free stamp duty, the $10,000 to $15,000 Queensland government first home builders boost at the moment too. So it ticks a lot of boxes, and long-term capital growth as well. So I think they're important things to consider, and it's a really exciting project. I can't wait to get started on it.
Oh, same.
In terms of me at the moment, I've just finished a subdivision down in Brisbane. I've sold one half of it and kept one half on the beaches there, walking distance to the beach and the golf course, and it's a nice big 660 square metre block. Now we're building a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 2-car garage home on it, with a 2-bedroom, 1-car garage, 1-bathroom home at the, on the side. So it's a nice wide block, and I'm putting a nice fence down the middle of the backyard, so they both have nice big backyards. You know, I estimate that I've made some good short-term equity on it. I also estimate that the build's only going to take about 12 weeks, which is good. It will be over a 6% rent return, plus I'll get all the depreciation from building it. It's a nice big single-story home that I've, you know, added the right things to in terms of speccing it up, but I haven't overdone it because I plan on holding it and hopefully owning it outright one day in the future. So that's really exciting for me. That's in Brisbane. On the Sunshine Coast, year before last, my wife and I just finished the construction of this home that we're in right now. I'm not going to turn the camera around and show you because it's a bit shaded right now, but it's a really beautiful home. It was in the Batinia estate, just near that brand new hospital there. Before we built this one, which is a double-story home with a pool, we built just a much simpler 4-bedroom single-story home as well, just across there on the other side next to the park. So it's really fun building. Outside of that, I've built dual income properties closer to Brisbane before as well. as well as properties in New South Wales for myself too. So each time I've done it, I've learnt different things, and I suppose that's one of the benefits of working with someone that cares about where you want to be, that isn't just trying to flog you brand new stuff, because 80% of the properties we buy for clients are existing homes, but we do have a capability to really help you get the right piece of land, get the right strategy in place, build at the right price, or if you've already got your land in place, save you a shitload of cash on the build and make sure the process is right, that you get the right design in place as well. So thanks for your time and attention today, and good luck with building. If you're going to go do it on your own, I wish you all the best, and if you need some support, we're here to help if you need it.